that the Shahada consists of not just testifying that we believe that Allah is the only one worthy of worship, but it also entails testifying to our allegiance, that our loyalty and allegiance is to Allah, to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the other Muslims in the world, no matter where they are, no matter what color they are. If one of us hurts, we all feel it. We all experience it. You know, we all hurt. We are a reflection of each other. And that's the truth. That's the honest to God truth. That's the honest to God reality, which makes us different than the people that came before us. We are one. We are one nation. We are the last to come in this world, but we will be the first. And I repeat that, we will be the first. And I repeat it again, we will be the first to come in the hereafter. And that's something great. Does everybody understand that? Because what does that mean? That means that not only will we be the first to be judged, but we will also be the first to be put into paradise. That's a great honor, a very great honor. Okay, and so what we've been doing is studying the book that we're using. Let me put it up here. Is Diluting Wala Wal Bara by Sheikh Kareem Abu Zayd, which is one of the best books I've ever seen written in English, you know, that helps break down and define the belief system of the Muslim. And it's not just one book, it's a trilogy. And every one of these books, the entire trilogy, should be a part of every Muslim on this planet's library, Arabic and non-Arabic. Because what we're going to speak about today, we've deviated away from the true meaning and the true concept of that Shahada. And we're just about at the end of the book of volume 1 of Diluting Wala Wal Bara. So what I want you guys to do is go to Amazon.com. By the time we finish these last few chapters, on Diluting Wala Wal Bara, by the time we finish, inshallah, everyone will have the second volume, which is volume 2 of Diluting Wala Wal Bara. And I want you guys to make sure you head over to Amazon to purchase this book. And I do have a picture of it so y'all can see. It's just like the blue one, except it's red. And it's a beautiful book, guys. I'm telling you, it's over 500 pages. It's beautifully designed. It smells good. It feels good. It looks good. It's nice to hold it, to have something to hold it in your hands and read and bookmark. And you can purchase this book by going to Amazon.com. And it's only $19.99. It's $19.99. So please make sure you guys go over to Amazon, purchase this book, because by the time I finish up the introduction to this volume 2, which is what we're covering now, everyone should have their hands on that book. Okay? And today what we're going to do, we'll begin today. We're going to pick up with page 267, I believe it is. 267 of the book, which will be, we're going to complete that second chapter on the Salaf and the Khalaf. Okay, remember the term Salaf refers to the first 3 generations of Muslims. When you hear a Muslim use the word Salaf, they're referring to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions, and those that came after them, and then the ones that came after them. The first 3 generations, they are the best of this nation. There is no Muslim on this planet who supersedes them. There is no Muslim that came after them that supersedes those first three generations. And we talked about why they are the best. What makes them the best is that they truly believed in Allah. They truly understood the concept of Tawheed. They understood what it means when we say that only Allah is worthy of worship. You would have never found any of them celebrating a birthday. As much as they loved the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they didn't celebrate his birthday because they understood that only Allah is worthy of worship, not even the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's what celebrating birthdays is. It's an action of worship. If you celebrate your birthday or anybody else's, you're worshiping something other than Allah. Does everybody understand that? Most Muslims don't today. That's why we have this war imposed by the Zionist. Everybody understand that? Zionist. 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 You got it, Fresno? Exactly. Learn the difference. Who are the Zionists? The Zionists are the people that don't believe in Allah. They don't believe in religion. They want to occupy the earth. They want to destroy anyone else living on this earth and take their land from them and establish their laws, their man-made laws. Their man-made laws over any religious laws, over Allah's laws. That's the Zionists. This is a Zionistic society. America has always been a Zionistic country. For those of you who don't know, we've always been a Judeo-Christian. What do y'all think Judeo-Christian means? It means Zionist. That's why Biden is a Zionist. And just to so cause y'all didn't know, Obama was a Zionist too. Hello. That's why y'all shouldn't have been voting in none of these American elections. But y'all didn't listen to Layla. No, y'all listened to those famous celebrity brothers down there in Texas. That's who y'all listen to. Oh, I'm going to call it out. Those brothers in Texas that told y'all to vote. Y'all listen to them. And look where it got you, us all. Whenever we deviate away from the laws of Allah, there's always consequences. Everybody understand that? So, this is what's happened. Allah said the best of this nation were those first three generations of Muslims. Allah is pleased with them, and they are pleased with Allah. And Allah says all the nations that come after them, all the generations, that come after them will be worse and worse and worse and worse and further and further and further away from the true Islam. So imagine how twisted we are, because look how far we are away from that generation. So let's put the PowerPoint up, and this is, we'll be finishing up beginning with page 267. Everybody get your book out, the blue one, not the red peel. Take the blue peel and open the blue peel up and go to page 267, which speaks about the Salaf's Tawheed. Y'all find the section on that page that addresses this. It says Salaf's Tawheed, no further writings on Wala Wal Bara. What does this mean? That's what we're going to talk about. Okay, wait, hold on for a second too. One of the brothers, I forgot his name. He asked me to take that down when I'm teaching. Okay, and I just remembered. Y'all remind me to take I put that up so you know the book that we're studying from, but I do want to take, the brother say he has a hard time reading the screen. Okay. Is that better? Okay, I'll keep the tab down at the bottom. And in fact, let me put it on the tab for the new people. Hold on. I'll just do it that way. Because one of the brothers, it says he can't see that well. We are equal opportunists. Here at Sunnahfollowers, we are an equal opportunist. We don't want to be discriminatory towards the people who have disabilities. Okay, so let me fix that. Okay, how do I fix it? Oh, okay, I'm going to put it down here, the book name. Give me a second. Order the book. Order the book. Diluting Wala Wal Bara, Volume 2 from Amazon. I'll put it right here on this tab for the other people. That way everybody's happy. We accommodated it. We are accommodating the disabled. Can't say that we are on an equal opportunist. We're accommodating the disabled and the people that can see Fresno. So I put it in there. Okay. All right, let me put this up here. Let's put the PowerPoint up. Okay, so inshallah, that book will be down there in the ticker. Okay, so this is where we're starting at. The Salaf's Tawheed. No further writings on Wala Wal Bara. What does this mean? Well, you know, the companions, radiallahu anhu, the companions didn't, during their generations, during those first 3 generations, they didn't have to go into details about wala, about allegiance and disassociation, because they understood what it meant. And that's what this part of the chapter is speaking about. Okay. Wala Wal Bara, this doctrine, which highlights the importance of allegiance, how our allegiance should be to Allah, to the Prophet, and to the Muslims, and how as Muslims we should disassociate from anyone or anything that opposes our belief. That's the concept of Wala Wal Bara. But the early scholars didn't devote much attention to this concept because they understood it. And who are the early scholars? Okay, the first scholars like Ibn Abbas, Ibn Masud, Ibn Umar, Aisha. The early scholars, they didn't devote much to this because those companions understood the concept of allegiance. They didn't suffer with misplaced allegiance like we do today. But it was after their generations, after the 3rd generation, guys, that's when the understanding of Tawheed, of the oneness of Allah, became distorted amongst the Khalaf. You know, they were the ones that distorted it. They started, as Islam spread throughout Persia. Remember, we talked about Ibn Sina and his movement. When the Persians embraced Islam, and Ibn Sina and all of them, they used theology. They began to mix theology and science with Islam. That's when the concept of allegiance and disassociation became distorted. Just as it's distorted today. We have misplaced allegiance. You know, instead of the Muslims standing strong, fearing no one and nothing but Allah, we fear the kafir now. We want to be careful what type of terminology we use. There's Muslims that don't want to use the terminology Zionism because they're afraid, just like what happened with 9/11. It was the worst thing in America. After 9/11, I saw a terrible change. The Muslims changed. Many of the Muslim women started taking off their hijabs, their abayas. The Muslim men, many of them began to shave their beard. And then this new progressive Muslim movement began. That's when the progressive Muslim movement began here. This apologetic generation where they felt the need to apologize for being a Muslim. They feel the need to seek acceptance. That's when all this interfaith began. After 9/11, we're going to sit down with the non-believers and try to win their acceptance. This totally contradicts Wala Wal Bara. You would have never found the companions trying to apologize for anything. The companions would have never sat down and sought the acceptance of anyone other than Allah. You know, so subhanallah, times like today, and it was after those companions that when this theology and rationalization invaded the Islamic creed, that's when the subject of allegiance and disassociation became forgotten. So it was after the third generation, guys, and it's been slowly destroying the concept to the point where we are today. Here we are in 2023 and 2024. And Muslims today on this earth, many of them have misplaced allegiance. They don't understand what La ilaha illallah means. They don't understand the concept of Tawheed. So that's why they're celebrating birthdays, celebrating Christmas, celebrating Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day, you know, and all these other holidays. But the companions, they understood that. Those first three generations understood the concept of Tawheed and allegiance. But the writings appeared with the movement of Ibn Sina. It appeared when Islam spread it from out of Arabia to Persia and those other empires. And they brought their Greek mythology, theology, and all that in. I want you guys to ponder this verse of the Quran. Allah says in the interpretation, the meaning, and hold fast all of you together to the rope of Allah. Do not separate. And remember Allah's blessing upon you. Remember how you were enemies and he made friendships between you, your hearts, so that you became like brothers by his mercy. And remember how you were upon the brink of an abyss of fire and he saved you from it. Thus has Allah made clear his signs to you so that perhaps you can be guided. Here in this verse, Allah is reminding us Muslims of his favors, how he's the one that guided us to the right path, how before Islam, the Arabs were enemies to each other. Not just the Arabs, the Vikings, the Romans, the Greeks. This was a barbaric time in history. These were the dark ages. We were barbaric. We used to fight. But now look how Islam came and united us, made us all brothers and sisters in faith, no matter where we come from in the world. So Allah is telling us, reminding us of the mercy that he gave us. And also, again, this verse describes the situation of the Arabs before Islam. And not just the Arabs, like I said, the Vikings were the same way. The Persians were barbaric, all of that. So this verse is a reminder of how our way of life. I get sick and tired of people saying Islam means peace. Islam does not mean peace. Islam means submission to Allah. And Islam promotes unity. It promotes love. And it promotes brotherhood amongst the believers, transcending tribal and societal differences. So again, Islam ain't about trying to win the acceptance of anyone other than Allah. Islam is not about trying to win the approval of any people other than Allah. Islam is not about blending into society and turning the other cheek and censoring what you think, censoring what Allah says. That's not Islam. Islam does not mean peace. It means total submission to Allah, not to man, not to society or anything else. Y'all understand that? That's why I get angry when I hear Muslims say Islam means peace, because that's not what it means. I am not a peace person. I'm a person that submits to Allah. What do I mean by that? What does the word Muslim mean? Muslim doesn't mean peace either. Muslim means a person who submits to Allah's will, what Allah says. We should never be ashamed to own what we are. We should never be ashamed to own who we are. We are Muslims. We are people who submit to the higher being, which is Allah, not to man. We're not intimidated by man. We're not intimidated by anyone or anything but Allah. We don't go around making problems. We solve them. We're problem solvers, not problem makers. We're not going to transgress you unless you transgress us. And if you do transgress us, we ain't going to cower down. We're going to stand strong. We're going to stand firm for what we believe in. And if it means dying for that, then so be it. Because we'll die in a better position than you. That's Islam. Y'all understand that? I get tired of that Mutazilite way of thinking. I ain't got time for that, y'all. Layla ain't got time for no Mutazilite. Take that Ibn Sina stuff on back to Persia. Okay? Maybe the Shiites like it. I don't. So this Quranic verse here is a powerful reminder of how Islam promotes unity, love, and brotherhood amongst the Muslims. Amongst the Muslims. Amongst the Muslims. And it also promotes distancing ourselves. That's the bara. Like I said, the Mutazila are afraid. We talked about this in the other class. We did the book, Get to Know Your Lord. What did we say the Mutazila are afraid of? El-Bara. They don't like that part of the concept. They don't like the distancing. We distance ourselves from those who oppose our way of life. We don't transgress you, but we ain't getting close to you either. We don't harm you, but we ain't trying to suck up to you either. We distance ourselves. Well, better. That's how you can recognize the difference between Mutazila, and I'm breaking it down, Dr. Dramali. I'm breaking it down, Dr. Dramali. That's how you can differentiate who's a Mutazila. They got a problem with Wal Bara. Lailanasheeba don't. Okay. Also, this verse reminds the believers that whenever we deviate away from the true path of Islam, we stand the risk of falling into the hellfire. Okay? So we stick to our belief system. As Muslims, we're supposed to stick to that La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah and never, ever, ever apologize for it. Never, ever sugarcoat it. Never, ever try to twist it around to seek the approval and acceptance of others. Y'all understand that? Learn that. Also, examples as to how the companions mastered this. We have a companion known as Ibn al-Aswad. We have a hadith whereas Ibn al-Aswad, he said, by Allah, none of the previous prophets were sent with more difficult conditions than the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He lived in a time of profound weakness and ignorance when people could not have imagined that the existence of a better way of life other than that of worshiping idols. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with the means to sever truth from falsehood, to sever a father from his son. For when a man whose heart Allah had filled with faith saw that his father, his son, or his brother were unbelievers, and because of that, he found no pleasure in seeing them, knowing that whoever enters the fire will be destroyed. What does that mean? We're Muslim. Islam does not mean peace. Islam means submission to Allah. I don't take my mother, I don't take my father, not my brother, my sister over Allah. That means if a war broke out today, right now, if my mother was not Muslim, if my brother was not Muslim and they were fighting against me, I'd have to take them out. That's how the companions were. That's Islam. That's how we're supposed to be. You know, the Prophet Muhammad was able to instill that devotion to Allah into his companions. We have the hadith, whereas after Abdul Rahman, when Abu Bakr's son converted to Islam, he was teasing his father, Abu Bakr, after the conquest of Mecca. He said, "Oh, father, remember when we fought against you Muslims?" But no, he said, "Remember before I became Muslim and we fought against you at the Battle of Badr." He said, "I was so close to you. I was so close to you that I could have shot an arrow and killed you. But I didn't because you're my father." And his son laughed. Abu Bakr looked at his son. He said, "This is where you and me differ, because I swear by Allah, if I had seen you, I would not have hesitated to release my arrow and strike you in the heart." That's a Muslim. That's Tawheed. That's a Wala Wal Bara. That's allegiance. The companions understood that. You understand? They could sever that tie for the sake of Allah. They didn't apologize for being Muslim. They didn't censor it. No, I'm not censoring. I believe La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. Either you're with me or you're against me. If you're against me, you gotta go. It's just that simple. Hello. Y'all get it? That's how the companions were. So the companions' understanding of Tawheed and their understanding of the elements of faith is what generated their commitment and dedication to allegiance and disassociation. And their commitment to those principles demonstrated their deep understanding of the religion. We don't have that understanding today. We go and get masters and PhDs in science and stuff, but we don't understand the basics of Islam. We don't even understand the concept of Tawheed and Wala Wal Bara. So this is why the companions didn't have to talk about it or write books about it. But as they died off, the later generations, they lost this dedication. They lost this understanding like we have today. And that's why we got books like this. That's why Sheikh Kareem Abu Zaid wrote this book. That's why we got people like him and people like Sheikh Atli who have to reinforce it. That's why we got people like Umar al-Ashqar who came before them, and Yusuf Qaradari and others. Sheikh Albani, Bin Baz, Uthaymin, Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Qayyim, and others had to write about it because the people deviate away from that. And look at us today. We're lost. Those early generations would look at us as being unbelievers. We're so twisted in our concept of Tawheed and allegiance. So loyalty and love for Allah are supposed to be the foundations of the Muslim faith. And we see it with all those original companions. For example, look at Zayd ibn Amir ibn Nufail. Look at his example of allegiance and disassociation. Despite being the brother of El-Khattab, he was steadfast in his belief in Allah. He went to the Quraysh, calling them away from the idols and calling them to follow the religion of Abraham, even though his brother was a stickler against that. Listen to what Asma, the daughter of Abu Bakr, Aisha's sister, said. She said, I saw Zayd ibn Amir ibn Nufail standing with his back leaning against the Kaaba, saying, O people of the Quraysh, none of you is on the religion of Abraham except me. And this was before the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam received the call to prophethood. For those of you who don't know, the Prophet Muhammad's mother and father will be in hell. They're in hell. The Prophet's mother and father were unbelievers. They did not worship Allah alone. They worshiped idols. And they were an example of the people, you know, that a person like Zayd would call back to Abraham's religion, the religion of Ismail. Okay? We have the hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told a man, your father is where mine is, in hell, and he'll be there forever because they worshiped other than Allah. Okay? We got these apologetic Muslims that get angry. They get angry because they hear a person like me say the Prophet's mother and father in hell. Well, they are. I didn't say they are. Allah said they are. And the Prophet said they are. So you're going to refute Allah? You're going to refute the messenger because you're apologetic? Astaghfirullah. You're progressive? Astaghfirullah. Okay? Also, Zayd used to preserve the little girls. If a person wanted to kill their daughter, he would tell them, don't kill her. He said, I'll take care of her. So he would take the girl and raise her. And then when she grew up, he'd take her back to her father and say, now, if you want her, I'll give her to you or I'll take care of you. Don't kill your daughters because you don't want to provide for them. That's the type of integrity these early generations had too. For example, look at Uthman. Uthman radiallahu anhu. He was the third caliph. He was known for his generosity. He was a multi-millionaire. He was the richest of all the companions. He gave his money in the way of Allah. He was the one that started rebuilding the mosque and built the houses of Medina to 3 stories. But during his tenure as leader, some of the Muslims accused him of nepotism. But despite the fact that they accused him of nepotism and caused opposition to him, he still upheld the principles of justice and fairness. Why? Because he understood Tawheed. He didn't allow those people to cause him to change and transgress like you Muslims today do after 9/11. And now because of what's going on in Israel, you want to become apologetic. You're afraid to use certain terms, certain words. You're afraid. Get out of Dodge. Subhanallah. Nothing like these companions. Look at Salman al-Farsi. He was known for his loyalty to Islam and Muslims. When he heard the message of Islam, he recognized the truth and converted. And he supported the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and fought alongside him in numerous battles. He was known for his devotion and love to the Prophet and his family. And he rejected anyone who tried to harm them. He didn't care if it was a Persian or someone from his family. You're not going to harm anyone from the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We don't have that type of allegiance to each other today. We don't have that type of allegiance to Allah. So allegiance, even one of the early scholars during the 4th generation, Imam Ahmed, he was a renowned scholar. He exemplified the principles of loyalty and disassociation. He rejected any offers or gifts from rulers. And he spoke out against oppression and injustice, despite it putting him in danger. And despite being imprisoned and tortured by the Abbasid leaders, he remained steadfast in his beliefs. And this was the 4th generation of Muslim. Okay, you can see how today, where Muslims face various challenges, the understanding of Wala Wal Bara is lost. It's replaced. The way of the Salaf, the way of following of the companions has been replaced with progressiveness. Okay? And we're not true to the authentic teachings of Islam. We're afraid to focus on disassociation. We're afraid to even mention it publicly. We're afraid to say that unless you hate for the sake of Allah, you will never be a believer. We have to not only love for the sake of Allah, but we have to hate for his sake too. We're afraid to make that statement. Oh, hate is too strong of a word. Just like Zionism is too strong of a word. Hey, kafir is a bad word. We're weak. We're so far away from those Salaf that it's ridiculous. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said there'll always be a handful. There'll always be a handful of Muslims that will uphold those teachings of the Salaf. The question is, are you of that handful that's upholding those teachings, or are you like the rest who have wavered away from their belief, their understanding, and their practice of this religion? Okay? So now, let me give you guys a little quiz. Just 3 questions. 3 questions from today's lecture. Number 1, when did writing about allegiance and disassociation appear amongst the Muslims? Did it appear during the time of the original companions? Or did it appear during the 3rd generation of Muslims? Or did it appear during the 4th generation of Muslims? Who can answer? Go ahead. Come on, guys, take the mic. Got another class. When did it become necessary to write about the Wala Wal Bara, or allegiance and disassociation? Did it happen during the time of the companions? Or did it happen during the 3rd generation or the 4th? Come on, people, let's move it.
I want to say during the 4th.
You guys agree with her answer?
Yes.
Yes.
MashaAllah, good job. Yes, it was during the 4th generation. Because again, the first 3, there was no need to talk about this because they understood the concept. Okay, what about this question? Why was there no need for writing about Wala Wal Bara or explaining it during those first 3 generations? Why was there no need for it? Why was there no need?
They understood. Yeah, no need. They understood.
Exactly. They understood the concept of Tawheed, what it means to believe in Allah and to understand that he's the only one worthy of worship. They understood that. They understood that only Allah is worthy of worship. And they understood that their allegiance is supposed to be to Allah, the Prophet, and each other, and nothing else. They knew how to distance themselves. And the last question, is the concept of Wala Wal Bara needed in explanation today? Why or why not? Does it need to be explained today? Why or why not? Go ahead.
Yes, because we are too far gone from not practicing the Sunnah.
Exactly. Exactly. MashaAllah. Good job. Like I told you, short questions, short quiz for today. We're weak. Do you guys see why, as a daya, I've always stressed, and a lot of y'all used to get mad for me saying it, but I've always stressed the importance of being a strong Muslim. Y'all see why I stress it? Do y'all understand why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the strong believer is more loved than a weak one? You can be a person that believes in Allah, but you weak. You apologetic about the deen. You don't want to use certain words. You're afraid. You think you have to get the approval and acceptance and do interfaith. You're weak. You know, you need to be strong. The strong are more loved by Allah. Those strong companions, those first 3 generations are more loved by Allah than anyone that came after them. More loved by Allah than any of us, because none of us compare to them in their devotion to Him and to His prophet and to this deen. They would never be found sugarcoating. They would never be found being apologetic. They would never, ever, ever do that crap. The women wear their hijabs proudly and their abayas. They wouldn't take them off because of 9/11 or the genocide that's going on. The men would never shave their beards. And they would never fear using the words that Allah used.